All right, we are in the pre-show countdown. As always, thanks so much for participating today. If you would just, if you're on Facebook, I would ask you to share this update so that we can reach the largest possible number of people, so that fewer people will be mad at me in the grocery store when uh, when the weather does what we think the weather's going to do. Yes, that is a thing that happens. And the more of them watch these updates, the more information is out there, the better informed people are, and the less I get yelled at the grocery store. So I would kindly and humbly ask you to share this. If you're on YouTube, I would love to invite you to subscribe to the channel. That will help me also reach the maximum number of people possible. So, as always, thank you so much for joining us, or joining me. I'm Josh Johnson. It is nice to be with you today. We've got a lot going on in the world of Alabama weather, to put it mildly. So we'll jump right into it here. The first thing you need to know is it is going to be brutally cold across the state this weekend. We're talking highs on Saturday. I think north of Montgomery, we could stay in the upper 20s all day. Highs around Montgomery probably are in the low 30s. And then South Alabama, mid 30s. And it will be very windy as this is going on. I think wind chill numbers across the southern half of the state on Saturday will likely be in the single digits and teens, even in the daytime. Then Saturday night, pipe bursting cold with overnight temperatures dropping down into the 12 to 20 degree range across the southern half of the state. Bottom line, it is going to be disrespectfully cold this weekend, and you will need to take cold weather precautions because it is that level of cold that we're dealing with across the great state of Alabama. So that's where we are. Let's walk you through a couple of things I'm seeing here in the new morning data. Quick answer is the snow chance hasn't changed much, but we are starting to see a little better sort of suggestion in all of this. And frankly, the model catching up to the humans a little bit, right? Whenever we see a deep cutoff low pivoting in like that, we think, uh-oh, that could squeeze out some snow flurries and snow showers. And it's taking a while, but the modeling is getting there. So first things first, tomorrow, this is Thursday afternoon, today, tomorrow about the same. Afternoon temperatures are in the upper 40s and low 50s. Then by Friday, weak little clipper type thing, little short wave dives into the bottom of this kind of long wave trough. You've got a big deep trough over the eastern U.S., big 1049 high up here in southern Canada. And we'll note some scattered rain is possible around here on Friday. And I do think there's a chance that some of the higher elevations up in northeast Alabama Friday could get a quick burst of snow. That will not include anyone in the southern half of the state. But I think Mentone, Cheaha, Lookout Mountain, Sand Mountain, Brindley Mountain, places like that, yeah, I think they could get a quick little snow shower. Nothing huge, nothing big, just a little bit of a novelty. Then the surface low gets formed down here in the northeastern Gulf Friday afternoon. And what we're watching in this is, see this circle right here, of the blue dash lines that says 504? That's essentially a piece of the polar vortex that's cut off and headed south. By the way, that term's nothing new. Polar vortex. We've said it. We've said that term since I've been in meteorology, and that's 24 years this June. So yeah, that's nothing new. But we're watching the progression of that circle that says 504, and the farther west it goes, the higher the chance of snow here. And what happens is there's a thing called vorticity attached to that, and as positive vorticity moves into your area, it creates lift. There's not much moisture at all, but this is an Arctic air mass. Those are very efficient squeezers of moisture. So it'll squeeze out some moisture Saturday as this thing pivots overhead, and this cutoff low will give you some lift. Now, to produce precipitation, you need lift and moisture. Is there enough moisture, right? That's the question. And will be the question right up until Saturday. But the latest global model data here suggest that there very well could be. So watch what happens here. I'll zoom you in. We'll go in for a tighter look. Again, this is all off of the 12Z run of the GFS. And look, yeah, you've got some snow showers and flurries back into parts of West Mississippi, the Tennessee Valley, and North Georgia. Is that exactly how this will play out? We'll see. Um, the other thing I see here is, see how these solid black lines are packed together? There's a lot of them on the screen. It is going to be extremely windy on Saturday. Brutally cold wind. It will start snowing Friday night and snow. I think this is a perfect setup for Gatlinburg. Some of those northwest facing peaks up there off Ski Mountain Road and Upper Alpine Way and Bavarian Way. They'll get blasted in this. Even if the globals won't pick up on it, but you get those short range models in, you'll start to see some 6 to 12 inch snow totals up there in Gatlinburg, and then right on into western North Carolina and the upstate. So that's how this plays out. Again, this is the morning run of the GFS, and then you get a big surface low that bombs out over here off the Carolina coast with some heavier snow into parts of central and eastern North Carolina and South Carolina. And again, remember, this is just the GFS. There are other computers that show different scenarios, but the overall pattern here is trending about that way. The 6Z Euro run was pretty similar. And then this is the RRFS. This is a higher resolution model. It's still experimental, but I think it does pretty well. So we'll fast forward here first to that little Friday thing. You see a few showers in South Alabama. You see a few flips of blue back here in the north central Mississippi, like they need anything right now. By the way, we need to talk about that. I'm not sure anyone understands the humanitarian crisis that is unfolding in Mississippi right now. There's a strip up there along the Natchez Trace and points west back towards the Delta that just got hammered with ice. National Guard getting called in. Look, I love snow, but ice storms are no fun, and Mississippi's hurting in a bad way right now. And thoughts and prayers with them and with we're sending people. You know, the power companies across Alabama and the country are sending people to Mississippi and Tennessee to try to help. So oh, that's the deal there. Okay, so then the RFS Arctic front blows through. It turns ridiculously cold, and you see this right here. These little streamers. There's some in Georgia. There's some in Alabama. And look, underneath these, a couple of things will be happening here. One, the air will be very cold. That means the snow to liquid ratio will be very high, meaning it will not take much liquid equivalent to drop a half inch of snow on the ground. But it will tend to be pretty low impact type snow if and where it falls. And remember, these are narrow strips. This will be a day Saturday where over your head it will be sunny, and 30 miles away from you there will be these narrow corridors of light to moderate snow, and the ground could get dusted in a few of those places. I think that tends to favor Northeast Alabama, just pattern recognition and history, but you can't ignore the RFS putting one of those strips all the way down into Marengo, Wilcox, and Monroe. So, yeah, it is possible that the ground could turn white in a few places there on Saturday. Now, would there be any travel impacts out of that? Probably too early to tell. I doubt it, but I can't rule that out. And then those snow flurries and showers kind of fade away and more into Georgia. And you'll notice the RRFS really carries this more out to sea, and you don't really get that big dump of snow up into the Carolinas. So that's a really tough forecast for a lot of meteorologists in the Carolinas. So bear with them. If you watch these videos and you watch their videos, they're going to really have a tough time kind of getting to the solution there because there's still a lot of uncertainty. Here's the Canadian computer model. Let's walk you through that. And understand, still we are still in the these are ideas, scenarios, and trends. That's what we're talking right now. I don't want you to look at any of this and think, oh, there's a specific forecast. We're working on a specific forecast. We don't have enough data yet to really dial one in, but I will tell you, we've been coordinating as a weather team this morning. We're going to declare a first alert weather day for Saturday. You'll probably hear about that later today, but just a little inside tip there. And we are adding a 20% chance of some light snow in the forecast on Saturday. It will be these narrow strips, though. Not everyone will have it. And no one will hear me say that, and y'all will get mad when it doesn't snow. But the Canadians is farther west with all of this, and you end up with a fairly large area of light snow Saturday morning into the early afternoon. The amounts are pretty wimpy, but yeah, it's enough. It's enough. You would see some snowfly in that kind of scenario. Again, this is the Canadian. Surface low is a little farther west. Notice that the cutoff upper low is actually further west as well, which makes all the difference in the world. So those are some of the scenarios we're seeing in the data right now. We do not have a lot of the short range models that we really depend on go out about 48 to 60 hours. So to be in range of that, you've got to get to noon on Thursday. So that's when we would probably, if this were to trend in a snowier direction, that's when we would put out some kind of map that shows you what may happen and a little more detail. Right now, you just need to know, yeah, there is a window here where we could deal with some wintry weather um, Saturday in narrow strips, I think. And some models have them west, some models have them east. History tells me it's probably east, but you can't ignore the GFS and the RRFS have some in west too. So we will not get directional with it at this point, just because again history argues east, the models argue west. We won't get cute with it. We'll just say there's a chance of some narrow strips of snow showers on Saturday, and it's also ridiculously cold. This is the we don't doubt we have the 12Z yet. We do, but that is not the current 12C. So let's pop a refresh here. So this is the euro from last night. It had a high of 29 on Saturday for Montgomery, a low of 17 Saturday night. That's the operational run of the European model. Pardon me, that's the ensemble. Wow. Okay, so remember, an ensemble is a choir. That's a lot of singers. And we're averaging all those voices together. And to have an average of 29 is incredible. That means there's a lot of these that are showing a high, even colder than that, down around 25, 26 degrees. Some are warmer. And warmer here is a very, very relative term. Saturday is going to be a brutally cold day no matter how you slice it. Here is the operational euro from last night. The high it shows is 30. The GFS has 36. That's the 6Z run, has 36 on Saturday, 18 Saturday night. That's the GFS ensemble. Again, that's the choir. I'll show you the individual singer here. The site I use for these is called weathermodels.com. Pretty cool little site. 12Z is not available, so 6Z GFS operational had a high of 30 and a low of 19. So there's actually outstanding model agreement in that idea, that it is going to be extremely cold on Saturday. And if you look really carefully right up here, let's do this. I like to make the mouse larger. I forgot to do that. But um, if you look carefully right up here, you see the wind speeds for Saturday, 13, 23, 20, 17. So a 23 mile an hour wind with an air temperature in the upper 20s, that will drive wind chills down into the upper single digits. So just be ready. Obviously, the what people are going to talk about, I know, is the chance of a little light snow. But I'll tell you, just straight out of the gate here, what you need to be talking about is the cold and the wind on Saturday. That, quite frankly, is probably the bigger story here. And we will note the operational GFS and the euro do at least return us closer to normal next week. There's no sign of any, 75-degree warmth anytime soon, but we do at least start that trend back to normal into next week. Highs more in the 40s and 50s, some of those lows a little more in the 30s. Just for fun, let me show you Gatlinburg, because I talked about this kind of being an optimal setup for some northwest flow snow up there. This is the Euro ensemble for last night. The mean is 2. There are a few 6s and 5s in there. This is for Sevierville, which is not really optimized for that northwest flow setup. So what does that mean? That means if you stay down at Pigeon Forge or in downtown Gatlinburg or up at Sevierville, you'll probably get an inch or two of snow. But if you're on a northwest facing peak above 2,500 feet, I think you could get double or triple that amount. So yeah, I kind of wish I was going up there. Wouldn't that be fun? That'd be cool, wouldn't it? No such luck though. All right, everyone, as always, I appreciate you watching this little briefing. Let's look at the Canadians in the process of coming out right now. One thing I do want to do is see about just its raw snowfall totals. See if it tries to get us anything. It does. Yeah, it tries to put down a half inch or so. Now, remember, the Canadian's the most aggressive one of these. And we actually have a pretty nifty little button here. This is Pivotal Weather, another website that I really like. This allows you to toggle back and forth between different models. So you see the Canadian's really aggressive, 1 to 3 from about Russellville to Aniana to Wadley and points north, and then a huge hit into the Carolinas. The Euro is like, nah, not happening. It has a dusting across the Tennessee Valley and some of the up near Duggar Mountain, where my papaw lives. Maybe a little inch of snow up there. The GFS, not a ton more. Kind of in the middle of that. But again, what you would be looking for, see these little streamers like this? My suspicion is you might have a few of those down into Alabama too. Notice too the GFS is a massive hit for the Smokies, 10 to 15 inches up there. The Icon is farther east with all of this and keeps us essentially snowless, as does the UK Met. Let's go to 84, because at 84 you could add in some of the shorter range guidance like the NAM. NAM has a big hit for Georgia and a few of these isolated little pockets. And I think, look, I'm not saying these numbers are realistic, and the placement's not realistic either, but this is the idea. This will be a Swiss cheese snow forecast. There will be a whole lot of places that get nothing, and then there will be these little slivers or strips where you get a little burst of snow and the ground turns white, is how I think this will play out. They will be narrow, and if you're not underneath one, it's just sunny. There's the regional Canadian. There's the RRFS. This, I think, is about the most realistic idea. It shows, a dusting to a half inch or so in some of these narrow strips with heavier amounts into Georgia, especially east of I-75 in Georgia. This I don't think this is a major winter storm for us in Alabama. Let's drive that point home too. The other good thing I would point out: this is not an ice setup. This is either snow or nothing on Saturday. Now on Friday, I think there's a window for some rain snow mix, but even that, it is rain or it is snow, and that has to do with the way the atmosphere is layered from a temperature standpoint. And I won't bore you to tears with that, but it has to do with warm air aloft. That's what causes ice storms. In this setup, there is no warm air aloft. It's cold enough for snow from the cloud all the way down almost to the ground, which means if it's a little warmer at the ground, it's rain. And if it's a little colder at the ground, it's snow. But there's no complexity above ground level, really. Once you go more than about 1,000 feet above the ground, everything's cold enough for snow in this kind of setup. And that's for Friday. On Saturday, frankly, I think it's all cold enough for snow, so it's snow or sun. That's really the only option for Saturday. And it is important to emphasize that both the aerial coverage, the number of people who see anything out of this, is very low, and the potential for any sort of accumulation or travel impact is very low. Again, these will be these narrow strips where you get a quick burst of light to moderate snow, and then 10 miles east and west of there, it's sunny. I want to make sure we're on the same page with that, because I do think that's an important distinction. All right, if you left a comment on this thing, I will answer it. I'll just type you up a response. I'll go through those over the next hour. Then I've got a busy afternoon of meetings. I'll probably post some more updates to social media. You know the drill there. And then we'll also, of course, see you tonight. We've got a lot going on. WSFA 12 News tonight at 5, 6, and 10. And we'll talk you through all of this. But keep it, watch the Facebook page, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I post to those essentially all day.